Hello, everybody. So this is just getting started here. I know people are about to start joining. For everybody who's watching this later, watching this recording, thank you so much for watching this. And really excited to have you here today. So we're going to wait here for about 2 to 3 minutes, maybe a little bit longer as people start to file in. So we're a little early. Just wanted to get everything up and running so that good to go technology wise and all of that other good stuff. So if you can hear me, if I sound great, if I look great and all that other stuff, please let me know. Let me know how it's coming through. I hope you're having an amazing Tuesday. Amazing. Thank you guys so much for being here. So where are you guys? I'm seeing a couple of you on right now. Where are you all from? Backer Kid, I see you. Ryan, Avalon. Yeah, you guys are awesome. South Korea, amazing. Amazing. San Diego, woo! That's where I'm from as well. Thanks for being on, Backer Kit. You guys are awesome. Really excited to hopefully do some webinars with you guys in the future. So quick shout out, if anyone here doesn't know what Backer Kit is, go check them out. They're awesome. Once you finish a crowdfunding campaign, everything can get really confusing. How do you upsell your backers? How do you get all of your products to your backers and get all of that information that you need so that they can actually get your awesome product? And Backer Kit solves all those problems and does so much more. So if you had a chance to check them out, please definitely head on over to the website and check them out. So thanks for being on, you guys. I'm just gonna wait 2 more minutes. Yeah, you guys are amazing. Also, ton of really Backer Kit's got a great go subscribe to them on this platform. They've got some really great webinar content. They've done stuff for everything from technology products to board games. They've got some really great free content as well. So if you're hungry for free content and you've gone through everything that LaunchBoom has to offer, definitely go check out Backer Kit. So they provide some really great content to the community. But awesome, guys. I'm just going to wait 1 more minute here for some people to hop on, and then we're going to get started, and we're going to talk about how to not fail. So as people are hopping on, if you guys just want to give me a little bit of context, let me know kind of where you're at in your process in the chat. Just let me know. Have you launched a crowdfunding campaign before? Are you coming from ground zero? You know absolutely nothing about crowdfunding, or are you thinking about launching a campaign soon? If you go ahead and let me know in the chat box, I'll be sure to curtail what I'm talking about today to better support the people that are on and are live right now, because I want to make sure that you guys are getting a ton of value out of this webinar so that you've got a lot of really great information to take back to your team and absolutely crush your crowdfunding campaign. So feel free to go ahead and put that in the chat box on the right. Or if you'd like to prefer to be more the quiet, introspective type, totally cool too. So no worries. And know that if you ever have any questions or anything like that as we're going through this webinar, feel free to stop me, add some questions in the chat box. I'll make sure to, I've got 2 screens here, so I'll be sure to look over there and make sure that you guys are getting your questions asked. I'm not going too fast. You guys are clear on everything that I'm going through. So amazing. So we've got a bunch of people on right now. I am going to get started. And again, feel free to stop me if you have any questions, anything like that. Don't hesitate to post that in the chat. But yeah, so today we're going to be going over why 63.5% of all campaigns fail and how to make sure yours does not. And so with some other really interesting statistics about that, I believe only 1% of 1% of campaigns, don't quote me on that, hit $1 million. And I think less than 2% hit over 100,000. So having those truly successful campaigns can be incredibly challenging. And so today, what I'm really going to be going through today isn't just, of course, how to not fail, but also some really powerful tips and tricks on how you can succeed. And I'm trying to make this as actionable as possible. So you can take this information, and if you are launching a campaign in a month here, you could take this, run with it, and be successful. So to answer really the question, why do campaigns fail? What is the cause of all of this? It really comes down to three things, in my personal opinion. One is bad strategy, two is bad positioning, and three is bad creative. And so, of course, there's a ton of other factors that can lead to the success or the failure of your campaign. But those are the three causes that I'm really going to be digging into today, and not just what not to do, but what to do. So I'll be focusing more on the positive. What is a good strategy? What is the right paradigm for launching your crowdfunding campaign? What is a great way to position your product? What is a great way to think about your positioning? We're actually going to build a worksheet together to make sure that you are positioning your product the right way. And then finally, we're going to be talking a little bit about creative. But really, the most powerful part of this today will be, if you're not familiar with the overall kind of macro strategy to understand what it takes to have a successful campaign, that'll be a really powerful takeaway. And then I really hope that the positioning section of today's webinar will be really powerful for you. So you make sure that all of the assets you're developing, whether it's your video, your campaign page, your ads, all of them come from a perspective of good positioning. Because if you don't have these three things, strategy, positioning, creative, you're going to have a really bad time. So that's what we're going to be covering today. And by the end of this webinar, you should have some really powerful takeaways. So let's, before I dig into that content, I want to tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit about LaunchBoom, just so you kind of have a little bit more context. If this is your first time really seeing us. And of course, this is our first live webinar ever. So really, really exciting. So to give you a little bit of our backstory, and again, I won't bore you with this. I know you want to get into the juicy content, so we will. But just to kind of give you a quick recap of our story, how we came to be. We were originally a full service agency. So before we niched into crowdfunding, we did a lot of video work, website design work. Red Bull was one of our clients. We did a ton of stuff in the San Diego area, all over the world, as a full service agency. And then a friend of mine actually came to me. It's a friend of mine. We went to college together, and he said, "Hey, have you heard of this thing called Kickstarter? It just came out. And that product that I always talked about when we were in college, I finally made it, and I want to launch it on Kickstarter. Will you help me make the video and launch it?" And I was like, yeah, sure, absolutely. And so we launched it. We raised $80,000 on the front end, it's the EcoCube, and on the back end, I think we doubled that, which is amazing, using BackerKit actually. We were definitely early BackerKit users, and it was awesome. We loved this thing called crowdfunding, and we were super successful. Then we did it again. We're like, okay, cool. We love this crowdfunding thing. Let's do it again. We launched it the second time. We raised $375,000. And then doubled that on the back end. So it was incredible and amazing experience. We saw that there was a huge opportunity in the market. So we stepped in, we shut down all of our other clients, rebranded as LaunchBoom, and became the really incredible, powerful product launch company that we are today. And so from that, we've launched hundreds of campaigns. One of the things about us that makes us special is our testing program. We've tested even more, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of campaigns. We test hundreds every single year. And now the thing that's really exciting too is we can also help our clients scale and support in e-commerce and beyond. So again, you can see in the top right corner of the screen, test, launch, scale. That's what we do. That's who we are. And of course, I could talk about LaunchBoom all day, but now it's time to get into the juicy content. So really, one of the things that I want to talk about too is, what does success mean? These are some examples of our campaigns. And to me, success isn't just hitting your goal. It's not just making $10,000, right? And hitting that goal. Of course, for a lot of people, that's amazing. And we want to support you in doing that. But really, to me, success is blowing it out of the water, building this massive community of potential backers, and all these individuals that will really launch your brand into the next phase of your business. So you can leverage all of that revenue, all of that to create an amazing customer experience, and to be able to go from an idea and a product to an incredible customer experience. So I love crowdfunding. It's the best thing ever. I back campaigns all the time. I'm literally surrounded by crowdfunding products, products that I've worked on, products I haven't worked on. I wanted to pull up this screen to show you guys what does success look like, and to show you some examples of LaunchBoom's work. But let's get into the content now. So first, we're going to be talking about strategy. So this is really, really, really important. Once you get the strategy, it's awesome. Everything will fall into place and everything will make sense. So let's start with, you want to do a crowdfunding campaign. You want to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars, or you even just want to hit your goal. What is a bad strategy? What is a good strategy? So first, let's start with a bad strategy. So I just took a random product that was on Kickstarter right now. It's live currently. And this is a bad strategy. A bad strategy is spending 30 days slowly slogging towards your goal, right? So again, if you're looking at this campaign for, again, I kept it anonymous for them because this isn't somebody I have permission to talk about. You can see that, again, they raised like $1,000 the first day. Their goal is, I believe, 10,000 Canadian, and they haven't even hit it yet. And they're slowly, again, you're not seeing any like big spikes at the beginning. It's basically just a flat line. They're even getting some refunds. This is not fun. This is not a fun campaign because the entire time during that 30-day process, you're just pushing, you're doing everything you can, you're spending money in ads in order to try to hit your goal, which can be really, really painful. So let's talk about what a really good strategy is. So good strategy is doing a pre-campaign, building a community before you launch in order to hit your goal the first day. So what you're looking at here is, this is the Frontier Mittens. This is a campaign we launched late last year. And you can see day one, we raised $182,000. So as you can see, of course, we didn't just start advertising. We didn't just start our marketing efforts the day this campaign launched, right? This other campaign over here, that kind of looks like what they did. We didn't do that. Instead, we spent months leading up to this campaign, not only building incredible assets that will support us in converting this campaign, but we built a community. We sent traffic to a landing page, collected email addresses and reservations so that we were able to have a massive community of people that were stoked about this product. And so when we launched day one, we used email marketing in order to convert those people so that not only did we hit our goal within the first like 10 or 15 minutes, we blew it out of the water. And so now, of course, if you go to a campaign that looks like this, are you more likely, like if it was the same product, right? Let's say it's Giver Mittens. If this was Giver Mittens and you came to the campaign and it only raised about 10K versus you went over to Giver Mittens day one and it's raised over $100,000 and you're seeing it continuously like increase every single second, every single minute, you're seeing that the dollars come in. Are you more likely to back that campaign and be part of that incredible event? Or are you more likely to back this campaign, right? Of course, you're going to back this one. Because you have that trust. There's that social proof there. And so that social proof goes a very long way to improve your conversion rate, but it also does something else. What happens is when you get that social proof and you build that community, you then start to get into why crowdfunding is awesome. So Kickstarter, again, I'm looking at Kickstarter here. Indiegogo is the same thing. But what it is it's a community of people. And this community is constantly looking for the coolest new products and gear and things like that they can get at a discount before anyone else. They want to get in on the hot new thing. And so what happens is instead of just doing e-commerce pre-orders, right? Like, why do we do crowdfunding? We have the ability, LaunchBoom has the ability to launch everything on our site or on your site and not do crowdfunding if we wanted to. But we choose crowdfunding because it's a community of people so that our ad dollars will go a lot further. Just like, why do you go on Amazon, right? It's because you want to attract all of that organic traffic, the people that are shopping on that platform that you're not paying for. And so what's really cool is if you hit your goal really quickly, you get a lot of backers within the first 24 hours. What's now happening is you're now rising in the charts, right? You're getting on the popular tab. And so people that are just browsing for cool products, maybe they just bought something else, and are looking for more cool things, now you're getting in front of them. And so that ad dollar that you spent during the pre-campaign to generate, 20,000 emails that are now converting into $100,000 in sales are now becoming even more than that, because they're attracting more organic traffic. And so again, usually when we're thinking about this from a marketing perspective, we've got 3 different audiences. We've got our earned audience, right? This is more of like organic, our paid, and our owned. So owned traffic is people that, like, again, our email list, the one that, you're coming into this campaign with, maybe from your previous campaigns or something like that. Earned is this organic traffic, and then paid, of course, are the people that you're paying for. Eventually, everyone's going to become owned traffic, so that the next campaign you launch is going to be even more successful than the one previous. So that's why this is why crowdfunding is freaking awesome. This is why we do it. And why it can be so powerful is your ad dollar goes a lot further. And by doing a pre-campaign, so again, guys, the strategy is don't start your marketing the day it launches. Do a pre-campaign so that when you do launch, you're going to be successful. You're going into it with 100% or pretty close to like 100% confidence that you're going to blow your goal out of the water within the first 24 hours. And so that's really important. And this strategy also lends itself to something else. And that's the testing mentality. So another factor in this is test, which you can see here. That's looks like we've got a question coming in. I'm going to go through this slide and then I'll answer your question, Andrew. So testing is really, really, really important. And so I'm going to answer Andrew's question, and then I'm going to get into how are we using testing to then make our ads and all of those things work for us. So Andrew, what was your question? What is the percent budget you split recommend pre-launch and post-launch? So usually what I would do is I spend, if you've got like an unlimited budget, let's say, I would do 20K during the pre-launch, and I would do as much as physically possible during launch. Again, once the campaign is live, you're going to want to spend as long as you're getting a good return. Same can be true for pre-launch, but if you're working with LaunchBoom, for example, kind of like our default setting on budgets is 20K pre-campaign, and then as much as physically possible, which will most likely be an additional 20K. And then on top of that, you also have your post-campaign. So that's in demand, and all of that. So again, you're wanting to almost have like a blank check or have money ready so that if you're getting a great return, you can spend more and spend more and spend more and spend more. So very important. And Andrew, I can answer more of your questions once we get to the questions section at the end of the presentation. But again, going back to making your ads work for you, instead of taking, again, same thing. If you just start your marketing when the campaign launches, then you're missing out on so much data. You're missing out on so much data, because how do you know what your community loves the most about your product? A lot of times, and like product creators and engineers and all of those things can be in a like a sound bubble where the people that they're talking to might not necessarily be giving them the best advice, or you've been sitting with this product for so long that it's hard to see heads or tails what's most important, what's not most important. Something that you might find as a product creator to be the coolest thing ever, to somebody else might just be an interesting feature. And so using advertising to test your positioning, which again, we're about to talk about, we're about to dig into like positioning and all that other stuff. We're using our advertising during that pre-campaign, so before the campaign's ever gone live, to give us really powerful insights into what does our customer love, what do they want, and get real metrics behind it. So that when we're looking at a product, we know, okay, this is the use case that's most important. This is the feature that's most important. This is the messaging and the imagery that's most important. And so really during that pre-campaign, make your ads work for you. And that's what we do over at LaunchBoom. Is a huge part of our process is taking each of these individual ads and each of these different ideas and then connecting that with our creative team so that our campaign video, our campaign page, it's not just a creative shot in the dark or somebody's like, oh, I think this is cool or whatever. We're not even taking past data, because we are taking past data, but we've got something even more valuable, which is present data, present information, knowing what's most important so we can organize our video, our content, our campaign page to know how best to communicate the positioning, the messaging to the target consumer. So very powerful. Make your ads work for you. That's a very, very powerful strategy. So now let's go into positioning. So how do you position your product? And so one of the things, something that's really, really important is for us to look at kind of like what is the paradigm between understanding positioning. And there's a really powerful tool that I love called consumer-based brand equity. Now, I'm going to give you a very rough understanding of this graphic here because I don't have time to go into each individual piece and part. I could literally do an hour to 2 hour long presentation just on consumer-based brand equity. But I'm going to give you a very high level understanding, which we're then going to use as a paradigm when we're looking at and answering further questions down the road. And so to go through it as quickly as possible, first I need to answer the question, what is consumer-based brand equity? So what this is it's a diagram that helps us understand how our brand lives within the minds of our consumers. Because what's interesting is if you ask the question, who truly owns your brand, right? Do you own your brand? Who owns it? So I argue that your consumers own your brand because that brand takes up real estate within the minds of your consumers. And so, for example, if I say something like McDonald's, right? So in that pause, you had hundreds, if not thousands, of smells, pictures, ideas, tastes, experiences flood your mind. That's consumer-based brand equity. And McDonald's has spent billions of dollars making sure that that happens, whether or not you have eaten it yesterday or 5 years ago. And so that's what consumer-based brand equity is it's that real estate that the brand takes up in your brain. And so working through this, what you do when you're thinking about consumer-based brand equity, it's built from the ground up. Each level reinforces the level above it and is necessary in order to move up the pyramid. So at the bottom of the pyramid, we have brand salience. So that's, do people know that you exist, right? If nobody knows you exist, then nobody's going to consider buying you. Most, especially when it comes to crowdfunding, that's a huge problem. A lot of people, don't understand what you are, or, that you even are an option to solve whatever problem they have, right? And so knowing that, if I, for example, I want a pair of mittens, right? Unless I know Giver exists, I'm not even going to consider it as an option. So salience can be very important, and understanding what the problem is, what the product category is, and what your competition is so that you're showing up as an option is very important. Moving up the pyramid, we're now looking at not just who are you, but what are you? So we're looking at performance and imagery. Performance is all of your key features. It's your price. It's your durability. What makes you better? Again, we're not necessarily judging it. We'll get there in a second. But what would make you better than your competitor, right? What makes you special? What is your USP? When we get into the worksheet, we're going to be talking about points of parity and points of difference. But we'll get to that in a second. So again, performance, think like your spec sheet, your technical, your tech specs. Moving over to imagery is what are the images that people associate with your brand? A lot of times this is incredibly powerful. Like when I said McDonald's, that's probably what was even more powerful than, of course, the performance. And so what images do you want people to associate with your product? So we're thinking about use cases. We're thinking about other brands that we're connecting this to. We're thinking about use cases and aha moments, which again, I'm going to get into when we get into that worksheet in a second. Moving up the pyramid, we now have judgments and feelings. So now we're taking this tier, right, the judgments and feelings, and we're evaluating the tier below it. So judgments are, okay, well, how do those performance features stack up against the competition, right? Like, does it actually provide value? Do I find this product valuable? Think about this as almost Yelp reviews or Amazon reviews. Those are your judgments. And they're judging not only the product, but they're also judging you and your company. And so as we're building out our consumer-based brand equity, since again, you've literally never been seen before usually, or this product has never been seen before, you get the ability and the opportunity to construct that from the ground up. And so by taking the time to like write a fake review, not put a fake review on a website, but like just as an exercise to write like what is a review that you would want people to write about your brand or product, we're then able to construct those judgments. Same thing with feelings is looking at the imagery, looking at the performance. How do we want people to feel when they're interacting with our brand and interacting with our product? And so that's where feelings can come into play, right? Trust, adventure, those kinds of things. And so when you're making creative choices, you can lean on those feelings. Now, finally, we move to the top of the pyramid, which is brand resonance. And so what brand resonance is it's the intense act of loyalty. It's looking at what is the relationship between you and me, right? Does this product make me a better mom? Does this product make me a better adventurer? How does this product become a part of who I am, right? Is it it's part of my own self-actualization. Fun fact, if you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you can actually lay that pyramid directly over this one and they match up pretty closely. So that's brand resonance, right? It's that like intense act of loyalty, that story, Tom's shoes, giving a pair to somebody in need. That's what the brand resonance is. And so this is consumer-based brand equity, and this is a paradigm that we can use to build out your brand positioning, and a very powerful tool that we use over at LaunchBoom. So I'd recommend definitely digging in, learning more about this. We've got a bunch of articles on learn.launchboom.com, so you can learn even more about consumer-based brand equity. And I'll probably be doing if there's enough demand for it, I'll probably be doing a webinar just on this. But let's keep going. Now it's time for our positioning worksheet. And so today, what I'd like you to do is if you have like a notebook, a pen and paper, maybe you've got like a note up on another screen, open up a Google Doc. We're actually I'm going to go through positioning with you. And so I'm going to kind of walk you through in a basic level how I look at a product and how I go position that product so that you have the best marketing, the best understanding of the product, so that all of your assets, your creative, all of that other stuff lines up. So grab that pen and paper and let's build out this positioning worksheet together. So this is, as you can see from this first slide, it's going to be a series of questions. And then what I want you to do right now is, again, you're not going to answer those questions. You're just going to write down the question. And then after this, you can then fill that in, take it back to your team, give it to the person who most needs to answer these questions, and use this to build out a positioning worksheet. So first question, who is your target consumer? It's really important to know who they are and to know them like a close friend. Again, be ready to potentially shift and change that as you start to advertise and see who, and again, all of these things are subject to change once, you start to get data, right? So what is it like? Plan never survives contact with the enemy, right? Same thing here is sometimes the plan never survives contact with Facebook ads. So something to think about when you're getting into advertising. But again, before it's important to like have a strong idea so that when you get into advertising, you can then break that idea. But if you just go into advertising with no ideas, no hypotheses, no scientific method, then you're not going to be able to learn if your status quo, which is like what the idea that you have currently, is good or bad, so that you can iterate upon that and adjust that into a new paradigm. So who is your target customer? Know them like a close friend. What do they like to read? Where do they like to go? What do they do for fun? Are they a male or are they a woman? Are they where do they gather information? And again, all of these questions, the better you understand your target consumer, it will help you with everything. It'll help you with audience construction on Facebook. It'll help you know how to communicate with them. But this is so important, as you see with these other questions. Understanding, truly grasping who your target consumer is will help you answer all of these following questions. So that's the first one. Next is, what problems do they have that this product solves? And so here we're using empathy to really think about what is the problem that they're having? What is the problem that they're experiencing? Is it something as simple as, again, I'll use giver mittens as the example here. Cold hands suck, right? It sucks to have cold hands. It sucks being cold. Who likes being cold? I don't like being cold, right? And so having warm hands, no matter what the environment is a very viable problem. And so looking at what are the different problems that they have, is it they're trying to become a faster runner, and so they need a recovery device that will help them recover better? Are they struggling with pain in their legs on long flights? Again, the product I'm referring to right now is Spring, which we'll be talking a little bit about during this presentation. So what Spring is it's a compression wrap that goes around your calf that helps pump blood into the rest of your body from your calves. Think about it like a massager on your calves, and it's amazing and it feels incredible. And so understanding that, okay, well, if I'm thinking about Spring, what are the problems that somebody has? It's standing for long periods of time, so my leg hurts. Long flights. It's leg day can suck. And so I want to be able to recover faster. I don't want to be, I just went to leg day and, I'm getting ripped and jacked or whatever. That's great, but I'm hobbling around on my date, which doesn't look good. And so I need a better way of recovering. And so these are all like interesting problems. Again, what we're wanting to do here is we're wanting to get all of those puzzle pieces, all of those ideas out, so that when you then go to build your landing page, you go to advertise, you now have all the pieces that you can pick from and use. So it's better, especially with all of these things, to not judge yourself, not think this is a good problem, a bad problem, but just to get it all down. And you can make those judgments later. So what are the key features of this product? And this is such a simple question, but it gets missed all the time. And so understanding what all the key features of your product is really important. And one of the ways that I like to look at this is to break it down into points of parity and points of difference. So chances are, unless you're breaking into like a completely brand new market, completely like crazy new technology, which does happen, chances are there's a competitor out there. And maybe they're a little different. So for example, if I'm looking at Spring, maybe it's, an active compression device that's untethered, that's like $4,000, that covers your leg and you can't take it with you. It's untethered. Or it's compression socks. So no active compression, but it does kind of solve that problem. And so although your product might not necessarily, you might look at it and go like, are there competitors? Chances are, if you're saying, I cannot say how many times I've heard our clients say we have no competitors when there are competitors. I promise there are competitors. So even if the product is a little different, it's important to look at what are the competitors and look at what are the points of parity and what are the points of difference. So for example, if I'm looking at, I can look at this Lofttech jacket here on the left, right? Is of course, every jacket has zipper pockets, right? A lot of jackets are water resistant. A lot of jackets are windproof, but it's still important. Those are points of parity, right? Things that make me similar. But if you didn't have those things, right? If you didn't have the zipper pockets or you weren't water resistant, you probably wouldn't be as cool as if you did have those things. And so it's important to even write those down and not forget about them, even if it is a point of parity. And then again, a point of difference might be the specific material that's used to keep this jacket warm. Again, I'll use Spring as an example, going back to that to give you guys another example. You have a point of parity. So I'll compare it to Normatec, which is the bigger, like $4,000 active compression like leg thing. And so they both have active compression. Very important, right? And the way that it pumps it makes sure the blood all goes in one direction. It's super safe and it's really effective. So that's a point of parity that's really important for both products. But the point of difference is Spring is untethered and lightweight and portable, whereas the other one is not. And so you're going to want to speak about both of those key features, not just one, right? Because if you just talk about the portability, then you're missing the whole like problem solution point of this product, which is my legs hurt and I want them not to hurt anymore, or I want to recover faster. And so that's why we're breaking it down into points of parity and points of difference. And so again, with your worksheet, you can write key features and then either write them all out and then get 2 different highlighters and then highlight your points of parity in one color and your points of difference in another, or break them down into 2 different columns. Next, it's just a really simple but really important question is, can I easily explain how this product works? Confusion is absolutely one of the #1 reasons people leave. So being able to go to somebody else and explain like, hey, my product is awesome because this is how this product works is really important. For the sake of time, I'm not going to spend a ton of time digging into this because it's pretty self-explanatory, but know that especially if you're a product creator, it's really easy to have spent so much time with the product that it makes sense to you. But if you go try to explain it to somebody else or ask them to explain it back to you, they might not be able to. And so it's really, 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 really important to be able to explain your value and why this product works, not just how this product works, but also why is this product awesome? And one of the best ways you can do that or test this is go to a friend or family member that you've been talking, like that you've been sharing your product with, that knows kind of what you're doing, and say like, hey, why do you think my product's awesome? And listen to what they say. And same thing, like go to other people, show them your product, ask them like, what do you like most about this product? Or if you were going to describe this product to a friend, what would you say? This is very simple, but don't sleep on this. It can be very impactful. Next is, where will this product be used? And I see you guys have some great questions, which is awesome. And I will get to them at the end. I've got I should have plenty of time to answer all of your wonderful questions. So next question is, where will this product be used? You want to write down all of these potential use cases, because what's impactful about crowdfunding is people have never experienced your product before. It's a pre-sale. And so although that's like, well, duh, the thing that's important about this is the fact that you're trying to incept, right? You're trying to get people to feel like they've used your product and can imagine themselves using your product without ever touching, feeling, or owning your product. So this is, again, going back to imagery, is what is the experience like of using this product? Where will it be used? How will it be used, right? If I didn't show you this picture of the lady bicycling, would you have even thought to consider Give Her Gloves bicycling? Maybe, maybe not. And so by giving our audience, our customers, visual examples of how to use this product and where will we use this product, we're able to really provide even more value, because like, wow, I can use this in so many places, and get them to really understand how this product will seamlessly fit into their life. So write down all of the potential use cases. Where are they going to use this product? Don't judge it, just write it all down, right? Like Give Her Gloves, using it to get pies out of the oven. Who knows? That ad might crush. So write everything down. Next is, what is your product's aha moment? When do people love your product the most? This is probably one of the most important questions in this entire deck. What is the aha moment? So this is when people are like, oh, I'm so happy I bought this product, right? It's that, they put the spring on for the first time, their legs are super sore, and they're just laying back and they're enjoying the recovery. Or maybe for me, my aha moment using spring was on my flight to China. I wore the springs and it was awesome. No leg pain, no nothing. Like it just like, I felt like it even helped me with my jet lag. It helped keep my blood moving. I loved it. That was for me, my aha moment with spring was on a plane. But again, you're looking at when people love your product the most, and really write that down, really get visual with it. And then when you're going into writing your ads, when you're going into writing your content and all that other stuff, you're giving them those aha moments so they can imagine themselves in those wonderful, amazing moments, eating those pieces of chocolate. Next question, do I or my customers have any judgments or questions? So what potential judgments, again, we saw judgments on the consumer-based brand equity pyramid. I talked about that, right? Like potential issues with you, right? Like, is this going to be delivered on time, right? This is like even judgments about the platform. Is this going to be delivered on time? Will it look as good as it does in the photos? What questions might they have about the product? This is where your community can be really helpful. Is a lot of times, or even your ads, you'll get a ton of, like, I can't tell you how many times I've gone through ads and shifted our messaging and our positioning based on judgments and questions that people have provided that have had massive impact on campaigns. So really thinking about what are judgments people might have, what are questions people might have, and paying attention to them, logging them, and using that to iterate your positioning. So with this worksheet, what I want you to do is like preempt those questions, preempt those judgments, write them all down. Next is double check everything using competitive research. So one of the things that I like to do is make sure that I'm not missing anything. If I look at a product, I've again gone through all of this messaging, all this positioning, consumer-based brand equity, and then I'll go to competitors' ads, websites, crowdfunding pages, and I'll look at, okay, well, how are they positioning themselves? What are they emphasizing? What do they say their unique selling point is? What points of parity do they emphasize the most? And so I'll always go through the competitors. And again, I like to end with this. I don't like to usually start with it because, again, not for plagiarism. That's terrible. Don't do it. I like to instead use this to vet and look at, like, how did my choices compare with their choices, and use that to iterate. Be like, oh, dang, that's a really powerful point of parity. Like the YKK zippers, like I totally didn't realize how cool that is. And we totally have that too. I need to make sure that gets added. So to going through doing that competitive research, really digging into those sites is really important. And so again, the way that I conduct competitive research is first, I'll go to their websites because a lot of times those are a little bit more condensed. And they're kind of taking the pieces of their ads and their crowdfunding campaign pages and putting them into one place. Plus, you can A/B test it. So they've done all this work on it. So let's look at their websites first. Then I'll look at their crowdfunding page. That's usually just like a plethora of information. It's a great place to make sure you're not missing anything. Then I'll go look at their ads. If you don't know this, you can see every single ad that any Facebook page is running. So all you do is you go to the Facebook page. I apologize, I don't have a graphic here to show you it. If you don't remember, if you don't remember what I'm saying, you can just Google how to look at a Facebook page's ads. Just Google that, and it'll show you. But basically, what you do is you go to a Facebook page. Bottom right, there's a little box that says transparency. Click that box. It'll pop open a pop-up. At the bottom of that, it'll say, take me to like the ads library. You click on that, and that image that I showed you before of RotoFarm with all of the different ad images, that's what that was. That screen grab was from. And so there you can see all their competitors' ads, which is cool. They've spent all of this money. They've spent all of this money, all of this time investing in advertising, and so might as well learn from it, right? I mean, I think that can be really powerful. So everybody's learning together. Cool. So that's it on positioning. Now let's get into creative. This stuff is super fun. So again, we talked about bad strategy, bad positioning. Third is bad creative. And so these are going to be some tips and tricks to take your ads, especially during pre-campaign, to the next level, and to think about how you communicate about your product. So first is make your content look organic. So I've been talking about springs a lot, and you probably had no idea what I was talking about or what they look like. This is spring. It's awesome. And so here are two examples, same audiences, same copy, totally different results. If you don't know what CTR is and CPC is, we'll be doing a webinar on advertising, so you will get to learn what those things are. But basically, the image on the left here, the one of the gentleman kind of jumping, it's very artsy. It probably even costed a lot of money to shoot compared to the one on the right, which is literally me in an Airbnb with my legs up. That's literally it, shot on my iPhone. And you can see a massive 5 times improvement in the click-through rate, that's CTR, of that image on the right. So make your content look organic, because again, like when you're advertising on Facebook, it's an organic platform. People are not looking to like see ads or read like see magazine style content. They're like looking at puppy pictures and like what their aunt had for dinner. So again, make your content look organic so you don't suffer from ad blindness, and that your stuff kind of seamlessly integrates into the platform. So very important, very powerful. A lot of times, uglier content can perform better. Next is show the unique selling point and use cases. This is like, I cannot stress this enough. So again, we did all that positioning work, right? Aha moment and like, use cases, all of those things, right? We did that. Now we're applying that to our imagery. Let your audience imagine what it is like to own your product. This was actually the campaign image. This is me. Again, same Airbnb, literally it's the same couch. And as you can see, I'm like playing video games and enjoying springs while playing video games. And so that's a very powerful use case. And this was one of the top performing images for all of our ads. And so again, showing the unique selling point, which is it's portable. You can clearly see the product. I have a really powerful use case, which is like, maybe I went to the gym or my legs are just hurting and I can play video games or watch TV and enjoy the recovery. It's not something where I need to like be doing yoga or stretching where my attention can't be diverted. So super cool. Use those unique selling points and use cases to impact your imagery. And again, this is a much prettier image, still performs well. So I'm not saying that pretty images don't perform well, but don't sleep on organic ones. So last but not least, when it comes to creative, is movement and organic video can be extremely effective. So I thought this was a very hilarious image. I imagine this being me unboxing really cool new products. So one of the things you'll see that I'm wearing right now, Tom's Finds. I'm Tom from Tom's Finds, if you didn't know that as well. But basically doing unboxing videos and running those unboxing videos can be incredibly effective. And then the movement part actually refers to cinemagraphs. If you don't know what a cinematograph is, Google it. Basically, what you're doing is you're taking an image and taking a small piece of that image. Maybe it's like snow falling or smoke rising from a glass or something like that, and you're animating it. So instead of having a static image on Facebook, you're adding a little bit of movement, which helps catch people's eye and gets them to stop and look at the ad. So movement can be really effective. And then organic video, that's what this image is supposed to represent, is doing unboxings. Unboxings are so powerful, especially for crowdfunding, because a lot of times there's that trust issue. There's like, does this even exist? Is it just a render? But being able to like take a product, feel it, look at it, show people kind of like what works, what doesn't work, all of that stuff helps really establish that confidence and let them know that, hey, you've done a lot of work. You made a really cool product and you took time into that, and you can show all the little itty bits and pieces. So a great example of this too would be Vava. So we did over $2 million on that campaign, and it's hilarious. We had like a beautiful video, crazy epic content. It's a 4K projector. Amazing content. You want to know the best performing ad? It was a video of the founder walking through the product. It was ugly. It was like had terrible lighting. It had terrible audio, and it crushed. It did so well. That ad I think it had like a 20 to 30x return. And so again, yes, having like beautiful, amazing content can be effective as well. But a lot of times dumbing it down, shooting content that is organic and authentic, again, double, triple underline authentic, can be just as effective, if not more so, than much more expensive content. And so yeah, that's one of the things that we pride ourselves here at LaunchBoom is we have the ability to make really epic, insane, like high quality content, absolutely, and we do that, but we also make sure we balance that out with authentic, organic content that we see convert well. And so we take a lot of pride in that. So that's it. So we've gone through how to have a good strategy, right? The TLDR of that is, don't start marketing day one, build a community and hit it day one. Number two, great positioning. We talked about how I go through our positioning process, the consumer-based brand equity pyramid. And then three, we talked about good creative. So again, organic being more important, and ways to think about how you can position your creative to work for you, using use cases and aha moments. So that is it for today, everyone. Do you guys have any questions, feedback? Again, this is our very first webinar, live webinar ever. So really happy to have you guys on here. Before I start answering some questions, just for the people that might want to hop off quickly. One, if any of you guys want to talk to me, you want to talk to LaunchBoom, anything like that, feel free to go to apply to LaunchBoom. Again, go to LaunchBoom's website, launchboom.com, hit the apply button and just fill out that form and we'll get right to you. You'll probably be hearing from Brad or Will or somebody else on our team. Or feel free to reach out to us on social media. So on Instagram at LaunchBoom, welcome to talk to me there. I currently run that. So if you guys have any questions, that's awesome. And yeah, really excited to talk to you. We also will have, we've some other cool highlights and things coming as we've got a book coming out pretty soon. So LaunchBoom, the book, really, really excited to share that with you guys. And then second, we've got, we've LaunchBoom Academy. So it's a little old at this point. There's some really great content in there, and we've had some really successful campaigns come out of our Academy program. But it's a little outdated, and we're definitely going to be revising that later this year. But yeah, so I'd love to work with you guys. If you would like to do a test boom with us or launch a full campaign, hit 6-7 figures, or see if you've got a great product, would love to talk to you. So now I'm going to go through and let's look at some questions. So Tanya from Australia asks, should authors crowdfund prior to publishing? That is a great question. So again, it depends on kind of like, do you have a community? How do you plan on using that community? I have seen books do well. I've also seen books not do well. Self-publishing is really cool. Using Amazon, becoming a bestseller on Amazon, I've seen be really effective. And I know there are a lot of really great resources for authors looking to self-publish. And so I unfortunately am not an expert in that field, but I know that with a quick Google, you should be able to find some really powerful stuff on that. Help from me, yeah, awesome. Thank you guys. Yeah, Steve, how's it going? Steve's from Stealth Wallet. You guys want to see like a crazy prototype? This is the leather version. It's in a camo with a diamond coated edge. It is a thin wallet. Love you, Steve. You're amazing. Let's look at some of these other questions. Detail how products should be pre-tested in terms of product, price, market positioning. So that is the question. How products should be pre-tested. So I could probably do an entire presentation on this, but to dig in or to give you like a really solid answer to this, what we're looking for when we're testing a product is, first, let's look about what we're trying to find. We're trying to identify what the cost per acquisition is, or our cost per lead is, prior to a campaign going live. And so to do that, let me explain kind of like our funnel. We send advertising traffic to a landing page, collect email addresses, then pass them to a reservation page where they're putting down $1 to get a really good discount or deal on the product. That by them taking their credit card out and putting down $1, that tells us what their kind of cost per acquisition is. Of course, not all of them are going to convert, but using past data and things like that, we have a proprietary algorithm that can tell us, what that target or what that cost per acquisition most likely will be. So that's kind of like, first, that's how we're testing. In terms of what I like to test, usually I like to test imagery first. So we'll go through, test imagery with whatever I think the best performing or whatever the advertiser's best performing copy may be. And we go through, we test a bunch of images, find which has the best both return as well as like other metrics like CTR and things like that. That's click-through rate. We test all the imagery, then we move and then we test copy. So we'll go through, we'll test different headlines, different copy, all of that stuff, and then use that to better identify what we have going on. We actually keep a sheet called we call it a hypothesis sheet, where we literally list out every single one of our different hypotheses, and we have different, we call them arrows, which are the different ideas or positioning concepts that we like to test. So an example of that, so when we were doing neck hammock, one of the questions that we had was, do people care more about how it feels, or do they care more about like the technical aspect of like traction and stuff like that? And so we tested a bunch of copy that was, this feels amazing. It like, you like so incredible, and like showing people going like, yeah, feels great. And then we had other things that was like graphics of like what's happening in your neck, and like science and information, and the feeling beat the science. And so we were then able to take that information and apply it to the campaign video and the campaign page. Of course, we didn't leave out the science. That's not, it's important to have everything and communicate that, but we were able to focus on what the tip of the spear was. Similarly, like spring, which you guys saw, had the exact opposite. So spring, we thought it was going to be feelings based on our information from neck hammock, but it was actually the opposite. People wanted that science, the like, what percentage of blood flows through your calves, goes back to your heart, all of that information. So the science beat the feeling tenfold. And so those are kind of the things that we're testing. And then in terms of like the audiences, of course, we're testing different audiences with our ads to give us a better understanding of who likes the product. Again, it's hypothesis, test. And then price point, that is also something that I would recommend testing if you're unsure or not sure about the price point. What's actually really funny is a lot of times we'll find ourselves testing higher price points. We've had products that have come in and said, okay, we want the retail of this product to be $129 and we want to sell it on crowdfunding for $98. But then I was like, what the heck? You got an amazing product. Why don't you like push that up? So like the retail's $250 and the lowest price points maybe 98, but it's racks up. And then on crowdfunding, you're mostly selling it for 129. So now you've gone from an average order value of 98 to an average order value of like 120 to 150. And so sometimes that's what's crazy is you can literally just crank up the price and it will have zero effect on your conversion. That being said, I've seen a lot of products where they're coming in they're trying to sell like a $800 backpack or something like that, and that just won't fly. So again, depending on what your product is, your market space, you're looking at what are competitors doing? Can I justify this price point? Hopefully that answers your question. Do you utilize any other paid acquisition channels outside of Facebook? Yes. So of course it's Facebook and Instagram. So it's the Facebook network. Usually those just have the best ROI. I've seen a lot of, especially when we move into LaunchBoom, so e-commerce, Google Marketplace, the Google network, all of that. So like YouTube, display ads, all of that stuff. Search, of course, performs exceptionally well for e-commerce. But when it comes to pre-campaigns, crowdfunding, the virality of a crowdfunding event is incredibly effective on Facebook and Instagram. And the only other thing on that platform that you might not be aware of is events. So you can actually advertise events on Facebook, and we usually do that. So like prior to the launch of a campaign, we'll also run event ads, which sometimes can perform exceptionally well. How do I know if you're getting a good cost per email pre-launch? Great question. So I've seen campaigns that have a 50-cent cost per email and like do nothing when the campaign launches. And I've seen campaigns that have a 50-cent cost per email do 6 figures within the first 10 minutes. So email is a leading metric, which can be good. Usually I would say cost per email that's like an average would be $1, like $1 to $1.50. I'd say is like a good range for a cost per email. But generally speaking, I like to focus on metrics that are a little further in the process. That's why, again, we use reservations to better identify what that cost per acquisition is. So hopefully that answers your question. And again, you identify your cost per acquisition based on your price point of your product, your COGS. Okay, if you've got a $100 product, $30 cost per acquisition, a 3x return would be amazing, right? That would give you $30 in profit, and it costs you $30-ish to sell the product. So use that to identify your cost per acquisition. What is the biggest benefit of doing a crowdfunding campaign versus doing a pre-launch on your own site? Access to free money. Free money. Who doesn't I don't understand, unless you're Nike and have thousands or millions of people, there's literally zero reason not to do crowdfunding. That 10% or whatever that you're paying the platform is very worth it. You'll go from a 2 or 3x return to a 10x return. If you're even getting a 2 or 3x return on your own e-commerce site, because what you're doing is you're attracting all that organic traffic. So your ad dollar is going a lot further, plus conversion rates on crowdfunding for some crazy reason seem to be a lot higher than, maybe not a lot higher, but somewhat higher than e-commerce. Just because, again, it's like an event or a process. You also see that social proof versus just being kind of in the dark and doing a pre-launch. I absolutely 10 out of 10 recommend crowdfunding over doing a pre-launch on your own site every day of the week. Do you see measured positive effect when utilizing PR? Definitely depends on the product. We don't, at LaunchBoom, we don't do PR specifically for that reason. It's not something that's easy to track. I know there's a lot of really great PR agencies out there. I think on LaunchBoom's website, we have a partners page with a bunch of really great PR agencies that I'd recommend talking to. And there are some, again, great PR agencies that do great work. But it can be kind of, in my experiences, it can be kind of hit or miss. Once you find a PR agency that, is amazing, then they're amazing. But there's also a lot of PR agencies out there that I've seen just not do anything. And so it's, it never hurts. And so usually if you weren't hiring a PR agency, I would recommend doing your best to do PR yourself. So that's something that I would recommend, doing as much as you can to really get the word out there. Again, I've seen for example, when we did Backblade, their Business Insider video got millions of views and generated hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales. So again, it can be really, oh yeah, Andrew, don't worry, man. Feel free. I love questions. So that can be effective. Again, so PR can absolutely crush it. And it can also do nothing. So it's a little harder. I prefer hard metrics and advertising. That's my thing. But I would definitely not be opposed to it. And usually I love having PR agencies on campaigns that we're also working on because it's another great way to generate traffic. It's just not something that I do. On Facebook, do you test out lead generation ads versus collecting emails on landing pages? We collect emails on landing pages because we have a bunch of hidden fields that you're not seeing. And of course, we've got a reservation funnel. You can't do reservations on Facebook. So we, of course, send traffic to our own websites because we can control the whole experience. And we've got more control over the conversion rate. There's more stuff that we can test. There's also a bunch of hidden fields that you're not seeing. So we actually pass in, this is top secret information, but it's cool. We actually pass in information about the person who is clicking on the ad. So we know what audience they came from. And we're able to look at that information later on. And so we want to tag all the information, the important information about a potential customer, so that we can use that data later on in the process. So always, we do it on our own websites. Let me see. Do you guys have any other questions? Looks like you guys are all still on, which is great. If you guys have any other questions for me, ask them now or forever hold your peace. Looks like we're just about over time here. So again, happy to answer all of you guys' questions. Let me know if you enjoyed the presentation and all that stuff. If you have any feedback on how we can improve this in the future, any questions or future webinars that you'd like to see, questions that you have. Of course, we also publish a ton of blog content on learn.launchboom.com. We'll be doing a lot more on social media. You can start to see some of those posts and content going up. And of course, we'd love to work with you. So if you'd love to learn more about us, our TestBoom program, our LaunchBoom program, or our ScaleBoom program, please feel free to reach out at launchboom.com, hit that apply button, or hit me up on social media. I'm going to double check again to see if there's any other questions. Favorite video you've made? Recently, I love the shift cam video we did because we shot the entire thing on shift cam. That was like a very unique, challenging video. So it was like a product where it was very meta. It was like we shot the entire product on the product. And so the shift cam video was awesome. I definitely and I think we killed it. It did really well. That was one of my favorites. Giver videos are always epic and awesome. We've always got such great content to work with out in the Teton Mountains. Backblade will always be hilarious. That was probably like such a hilarious, amazing video. We literally got a gorilla costume. Fun fact, I controlled the animatronic head. It was crazy. We had like an actual full-on animatronic gorilla for Backblade, and that was so much fun. I'm trying to think any other ones. The William Painter team, the William Painter videos are amazing. They also perform exceptionally well from an advertising perspective. Their Empire video is continuing to be like their number 2 or number 3 best performing asset of all time. There's currently like spending tons on it on YouTube right now, and it's absolutely crushing. That's a video that we worked on. Matt, actually, from William Painter, is the one who edited it. They did a lot of that shooting, but we did consult on that one. I'm trying to think if I have more. There's a ton. Again, we produce so many videos. I definitely lose track of them, but hopefully that answers your question. How do you drive acquisition to Kickstarter since they don't allow Facebook Pixel? That is correct. They do not. I could do an entire rant on Kickstarter hurting entrepreneurs by not including a pixel because it puts the power instead in the hands of agencies, which is crazy. It seems like super counterintuitive to it's like, okay, do we accept pixeling via Facebook's whatever, or do we let these agencies have all the power because they can actually track the sales? And so really the best way to do that without crazy technology or massive backer lists, which is really the only way to truly do it correctly, is just using Google Analytics and putting unique custom tags for each individual ad. So every ad has a unique URL, and then you can then track that on Google via Google Analytics, or again using Kickstarter's unique. They've got a link generating tool, and so you use those to support in identifying which ads and individuals are getting to your page, and then use that. But of course, it's not perfect. The reason why that sucks is because you have to manually optimize, and it doesn't really feed Facebook's algorithm. So there really isn't any easy way to do it without getting insanely complicated and having a million person, 10 million person backer list would be the only way to truly do it the right way. Most likely using their API. So, but yeah, so for the average consumer, good luck. I would recommend probably working with an agency like ourselves, and then there's a bunch of other agencies that do live Kickstarter advertising that are really good at it. And so I would recommend speaking with them as well. Again, I can stay on for another couple minutes if you guys have any more questions or any other feedback. Let's see, refreshing. Yeah, thanks for asking questions is one of our core values, Andrew. So thanks for asking them. Thanks, Backer Kid. Really appreciate it. Well, awesome, everyone. So thank you, everybody, for hopping on. I'm gonna close this bad boy down. Thank you so much for hopping on. Looking forward to doing another one of these in the next month or potentially sooner. And really happy to have you all on. So hopefully hear from you guys again soon. Again, main call to action. Follow us on social media at LaunchBoom on Instagram, and look forward to seeing you all on the next one. Well, take care, everybody, and have an amazing Tuesday.